Good morning, everyone. Okay. So Rise is a reboot, invest, scale, and empower yourself. It's an initiative from Women Who Code Hyderabad, and basically they are doing this to enable women on a career break to return to work. So, all the initiatives taken by Women Who Code is to inspire women to excel in their technology careers so that they can create a world where diverse women are better represented as engineers and tech leaders. There is a code of conduct for women who code, and we all get an equal opportunity here to participate, irrespective of our demographic characteristics, political affiliation, preferred programming language, or socioeconomic status. And women who code does not tolerate any harassment of members in any form. So please read the code of conduct at womenwhocode.com/code of conduct. So with this, Satya, I will hand it over to you. Satya, are you there? Are you able to hear me?
Yes, Nandini, I'm on.
Okay, go ahead. Yes, you can go start your session.
Thank you, Nandini. Yeah, team. Yesterday we were talking about hidden fields, how to make web application stateful. So, as part of an yesterday's session, we were discussing about one example, and we worked on one example which transmits data from client to server using hidden fields, right? And so in hidden fields, basically we have some drawbacks. So basically this is how that application was working. So we implemented one HTML page which hosts couple of text fields. When we click on submit button, so that data would be transmitted to server. So server side SRV1 servlet, that servlet will be executed, and this servlet again it is adding. It is adding form to information, and we were reading SRV1 HTML information, and again sending the same information to browser in the form of hidden fields. Again, after submitting form 2, the same data again it is transmitting to server to SRV2 servlet. So what is happening here? The same data is being transmitted over network from client to server and server to client, again client to server. So there's a lot of transmission. The same data is being transmitted from browser to server, right? So as the data is transmitting from the browser to server, for every transaction or every submission, every request, so a lot of network resource being wasted here, right? So so this is the main drawback of using hidden fields. So that's why uh, and if we have any confidential data, and if we use get method in the client side, again that data would be exposed to the user and exposed to public in the network. So as it has so many drawbacks, so there are some alternatives for these hidden fields, so like cookies and sessions. Okay, so those are the drawbacks of using hidden fields. Any questions on hidden fields, or any doubts?
No, Satya.
Okay, thank you. So as an alternative to these hidden fields, so Sun Microsystem implemented cookies concept. So cookie is nothing but a piece of information that is stored, that is set by server and that would be stored at the client side. Okay, cookie is a piece of information that would be set by server and stored at the client side. Okay, cookie is a piece of information, so which is set by server and stored at the client. So now we'll see how to use cookies in servlet. So we'll use same example for cookies also. So again, we have SRV1 call HTML. As part of this HTML, we have a couple of text fields, and after submitting this form, the request will go to SRV1 servlet. Now, using this SRV1 servlet, we set a cookie. Okay, so here we are using do post method. We don't want to expose the data to public in the network, so we are using a do post method. Okay, now same by using request.get parameter, we are reading this information. Now we set this information and we will send this information in the form of cookie to the browser. How to create a cookie? So in API, we have a class called cookie.
So suppose without creating the next form 2, if you are trying to do out.println, so it will give us an error, right?
Yes.
Okay. Suppose if we have next form, then we should go to the next servlet 2, and then from there on we'll have to do an out.println. So it'll take the next form, third form.
Yeah, maybe we can use JSPs or HTML pages for other forms also. But in that case, servlet is not required. No need to use the servlet. Instead of servlet, we can use HTML page, and server side we can read that information using session. I'll give you. I'll explain that in the next example.
Okay.
For now, we'll use servlet for the form 2 also.
Okay.
Okay, so in API, we have a cookie class. So using new keyword, we can create instance of cookie. And this cookie expects some parameters. One is key name, another one is cookie value. Okay, similarly, I'm creating instance for other fields also. Cookie 2 and cookie 3. So now we have created cookies, but to send this information to the client, which object we should use to send this information to the client? Basically, we use response object, right?
Yes.
Yes. So using response object, we can send this information to the client. So I'm calling response.add cookie. Okay, response.add cookie. By using this API call, we can send this information to client.
So in which form will it get printed? The form 1?
So basically this SRV would be loaded on the client side, right? So in that case, the form would be it would be form 2, not form 1.
Okay, form 2. Okay.
Yeah. See this diagram. So from SRV1, this is form 1, right? So here we submitted some information and we clicked on the submit button. Then the control is going to SRV1. In SRV1 only we have cookie, and SRV1 only we have form 2. So that means which form would be displayed in the client side?
Form 2.
Yes.
The response
Form
will go
2.
to. Okay.
And earlier we created a couple of hidden fields, right? Now I am deleting these hidden fields.
Since it is a small program, we are able to backtrack like in which form we are able to, see the code, see the values. Suppose if it is a very big application, so how to backtrack there? How to
Yeah.
find which
So
form it is?
basically in typical web application, Kaveri, we use a combination of servlets and JSPs. It won't be a pure servlet concept.
Yes.
Okay. So there we'll call instead of servlet, we can call JSPs. And basically we do have some structure on how to say that is design pattern, MVC design pattern. So that design pattern would take care of this view and control, controlling the data in between servlets and JSPs. So if time permits, I'll explain MVC also. So for now, we are discussing about only servlets.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So earlier we created these hidden fields, right? So now I don't want to use these hidden fields. That's why I commented out this one. So for now, we are setting only cookie information. Okay. And now we try to run this example. We'll see. No, we'll complete SRV2 also because we need to read this information, right? So earlier, as we used hidden fields, we used request.get parameter to read that information. But in this case, we are not setting this information in the form of hidden fields. So what we use here, we used cookie. So to read cookie information from the servlet, so we need to implement API. So basically to read information from client, which object we use?
Request.
Yes, correct. This is a request object. So in request object, we have a method called get cookies. Okay, and the return type of this get cookies is an array, cookie array. Client can hold multiple cookies, right? That's why when we call request.get cookies, it will return an array of cookies. Cookies can be more than one. So I'm using a for loop to get cookie information. So here I'm printing cookie name and cookie value. just to print this information on console, I used this for loop. So as we know cookie names, so here we can directly use cookie names. It's c.getName.equals name. So I'm setting this, I'm calling this value. Similarly, gender, now, if you observe this example, so if you observe this example, what we did using this example, so from SRV1 called at HTML, we are passing some information, and using SRV1 servlet, so we are reading form 1 data, and using the SRV1 servlet, again we are setting some cookies on the client side. So that would be a form 2. Again, after submitting this form 2, the overall information would be sent to SRV2 servlet, and in SRV2 servlet, we are reading cookie information along with form 2 data, and we are trying to display that information on the browser in the SRV2 using SRV2 servlet. That is what we are trying to do in this example.
Okay, suppose if you want to do some manipulation of data, then from the server side, we have to go to the JDBC. Using JDBC connection, we have to go to the database.
So exactly. In this example, we are just displaying that information, but we are not adding any business logic.
Okay, got it.
So what to do with this information?
Okay.
Yeah. What to do with this information, that would be defined by business logic. But here we did not add any business logic. We are just transmitting the data, and we're just displaying the data on the browser. That's it.
Okay. Okay. Suppose if you want to add some business logic, then it should be added on the server side.
Yes, on the server side. So that business logic can be added in as part of the servlets.
Okay. Okay, got it.
Okay. So now in SRV2, we have complete information, right? And if you want to save this information to database, In SRV2, you can implement JDBC data. I mean, JDBC implementation to store that information in database.
Okay, from here we have to establish the JDBC connection, then we have to store or otherwise if you have to go and get the data from the database, then we have to do.
Right. So
Okay.
that's all depending on the depends on all the requirement. So if you want to verify user information in database, so in SRV1 you can add JDBC connection and you can get data from database. If this user information is available in database and if you want to read that information from database in SRV1, you can add that code. Is it clear, Kaveri?
Yes, Satya.
So using form 1, I'm sending some information, basic information. So using SRV1, I'm reading that information, whatever sent from form 1. So that information I displayed here. Along with displaying, we set some cookies, right? So I'll show you that cookies in the browser. And see. So in this case, we used cookies, not hidden fields. So we commented out that hidden fields code. So in this case, we were using only cookies concepts. So using these cookies, we transmitted the data from server to client and client to server, right?
Both does the same work?
Yes, again, it is doing the same work. So in browser, I'll show you the cookie information. See, are you able to see, Kaveri?
Yes, Satya.
See, I opened debug mode in the browser. So using form 1, I sent some information, and using SRV1, I set some cookies, right? So now I could see those cookies in the browser. See, response cookie. What are the cookies we set? We set name, we set gender, we set nation, right? So we could see the information in the browser.
Okay.
The debug mode, console debug mode, we could see that information here.
So passwords and all, we should not set in cookies.
Right.
So for that, we need to use the hidden fields.
No. So that has different mechanism. So what are the disadvantages we had in hidden fields? What are the disadvantages? The data is being transmitted from client to server and server to client, again client to server. So a lot of transmission, right?
Okay.
That drawback of hidden fields. But again, using these cookies also, we are doing the same thing. But earlier it was hidden field, but now it is cookie. That's it. There is no difference.
Okay.
And along with this transmission, there is another drawback using cookies. Suppose if I clear my browser history along with cookies, what happened?
The data will be lost.
Yes, from one data would be lost. We won't get from one data.
In that case, suppose if I am trying to do some manipulation with that data, then it will not happen.
Manipulation means?
Suppose if I'm trying to, okay, only the response, the request data has been lost. Okay, so there's nothing, because of this loss. So there's nothing for us.
So if it is a critical information and in between, if we delete this cookie information, what happened? We'll lose complete form one data, right? Which is a critical information, right?
Okay.
So in that case, we can't create a reliable application because we are losing some data. We are losing some critical data by deleting these cookies.
Okay.
Right? So
okay.
Using cookies, if we transmit the data, we are losing some data. So we can't make our application as a reliable application. If there is a data loss means, would it be a reliable application? No, right?
No.
So in addition to disadvantages in hidden fields, it is adding another disadvantage. If we clear browser history, we are losing everything.
Okay.
Whatever the information we set using cookie, we are losing that information.
So in which case we will use cookies?
Yes, good question. So suppose if I am using some single sign-on concept. So you are aware of single sign-on?
Yeah, maybe once till we log out, it is like one single time signing in.
Okay. I'll explain. So single sign-on means, so multiple application login once. Okay. For example, we have Gmail and we have Facebook and we have some other application like Twitter. Okay. But I want to log in only once and I would like to use all these applications without login. Without signing into these applications, I want to use only one login. So for the first application, when I use Gmail, I will pass my credentials. So
okay.
After passing my credentials, I don't want to log in to Facebook or Twitter using the same credentials.
Okay.
So because I'm using the same credentials across all applications, so only I want to log in once. So using this information, I should be able to open other applications also like Twitter and Facebook.
Okay.
So for that, we use single sign-on. So we'll call it at SSO. Okay. So what happened in this SSO, whenever we submit our credentials to SSO, this SSO application will authenticate our credentials, maybe in database or some other application. There it will authenticate our credentials. Okay, and this SSO application will set one cookie in our browser. Okay, So this SSO server, it will authenticate our credentials against authentication server or any database. And after successful authentication, this SSO server will set one cookie in our browser. So next time what I'm doing, using same browser, I'm trying to open Facebook application. Okay. So Facebook application, this time I'm using Facebook. So what this application will do, this Facebook application will send a request to SSO server along with this cookie. Okay. The browser will send request to Facebook to the same SSO server using this cookie. Now, this SSO server will identify this user is already authorized with some other application. So instead of asking credentials again, it will directly open Facebook application. Okay. And similarly, when I open Twitter, so again I use same browser, right? So when it sends request to the SSO server, it will pass this cookie information. Again, this SSO server will identify the user based on this cookie information. So as this user is already authenticated and authorized, instead of asking login page, it will directly open Twitter application. Understood? So
Okay.
for this type of applications, we use cookie. In this case, in this example, if user delete cookie information, what happened?
So
There would
we
be
will
no
not be, yeah, the data will be lost and we will not be able to log in into the second application.
login. Yeah, in that case, this SSO server will ask for credentials.
Okay.
So when the browser deleted this cookie information, SSO server, it won't identify, it will not identify the user. So when it is unable to identify the user, what happened? It will ask for credentials. So in that application, there is no harm. There we are not losing any information. Are we losing any critical information? No, right?
No.
No. So this type of application, for this type of application, we can use cookie.
Okay.
Clear?
Clear, Satya.
So in this application, in this mechanism, hidden field is not a good choice. Can you explain why?
Because the credential will not be stored and it will not be passed to the second application.
Right. And for every application, this SSO server has to send some data, some information, some session information, or some unique key, something like that. For every application, it has to set some data. But while using cookie, for the first application only, it is setting some data. For rest of the applications, no need to set any cookie.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So any questions up to this part?
No, Satya.
Yeah. So in hidden fields, we have some drawbacks, and again in cookies, we have some drawbacks, right? So what is the alternative for these two mechanism? So for that, we have a session. So when we use session, so in previous case, what happening? The data is being transmitted from client to server and server to client, and in cookies, so some information is being set on the client side. So when we use session information, sessions, so all the information would be stored in client server side only. So nothing would be stored at client side. Okay.
Okay.
For example, if we have 3 clients and they are trying to access the same web application. So in this case, if we use sessions in our application, for every browser, for every client, this application server or web server, it will create one session that is specific to a particular client. Okay. So for example, this is client 1 and this one is client 2 and this is client 3. Okay, whenever I try to access this application using client 1, so if we use sessions in our implementation, for this client 1, this application will create one session. Okay, we can call it as CL1 session. Similarly, CL2 session. See, so based on the session, this web server will identify, so this information will belongs to CL1. And similarly, CL2 session information is belongs to CL2 client. Similarly, CL3 client. So, but this information is being stored at server side, not at client side. So in previous case, when we use hidden fields or cookies, some piece of information that is being set at client side and that is being transmitted from client to server. But in this case, this data won't be transmitted between client and server. This information would be stored at the server side only. So based on this session information, server will identify to which server this information belongs to. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Now we see how to implement sessions using the same example. Okay. So we are using the same HTML page with the same fields, and in SRV1 we do use sessions. Okay. So I'm deleting this cookie related code from SRV1. So as I explained in this diagram, whenever I send request from CL1, so this web server will create a session related to client 1, right? So when I use this application, so by default the server is creating some session related to client 1, right? So that means the session is already available. We are not we are not required to create any session here. Okay, so whenever I send request from client 1, this web server is already creating one session related to client 1. That means no need to create session here. Instead of creating session, we can get the session using request.getSession. Why we are not creating session here?
It's automatically created by the server.
Yes, because it's already available. Now, using request.get parameter, we were reading some information, right? Now, using the session object, we can store this information on the server side. So that's it. Now we need to read this information in SRV2. So in SRV1, we are setting some session data. Okay. So for this application, application server, it will create session automatically. So that's why we are not creating any object, session object here. So instead of creating object, we are getting the session using request object. Okay, we are getting the session using request object. Now in SRV2, I will read this information. Sorry, here we need to add, okay, that's right. So you in SRV1, we are setting session information using set attribute, session.set attribute. So for this set attribute, we need to pass two arguments. One is name of this attribute and attribute value. Now in SRV2, we'll read that information. So again, I'm using request.get session. So in this case, I'm not sending any information to the client. Am I passing any information to client?
No, Satya.
No, we
So
are not passing any information.
the information is coming to servlet 2.
Right.
Even in Eden also we did the same, right?
In hidden fields, we are transmitting the data. We are transmitting data to client. In the browser side, we displayed that information, right? Using hidden fields.
Okay. Yes. But I mean, the data from the form 1 was printed in the form 2. And then we send the data, the name, gender, and nation to the form 2. So in the, I'm sorry, in the, to the, yeah, from the form 2 to the servlet 2. And then in the servlet 2, we displayed everything, all
Right.
5 data.
Right. But actually, where this application is running,
Server side?
Yes, in Tomcat server side, we are running this application. But where this browser is located? In my local machine, right?
Local machine.
So in this case, browser is my client.
Okay.
And Apache Tomcat is server.
Okay.
So both are completely different applications.
Okay, got it.
So in SRV1, we did not set any cookies. So I'm deleting cookie related code from this SRV2. So I want to read that information from session. Okay, I don't want to read it from hidden fields or any cookies. So in SRV1, I set this information to session using set attribute. So I already have this information in the session. So from session, I'm reading this information. To read that information, what I'm using, session.get attribute. So here I know what are the names I used to set session information. That's why by using the names, I'm directly getting that information. Session.get attribute. Okay, and attribute name. The same thing we set using SRV1, right? Request.set attribute name and value. Now we'll try to run this application. It's better to run from this browser. So we did not delete this cookie information. That's why it is displaying cookie related information in this browser. Okay.
Okay.
So in previous example, we created some cookies, but we did not delete that information.
Okay.
Let me explain this example using some other browser. So this time I'm going to use Edge, Microsoft Edge. See, do we have any information here, cookie information?
No.
So this time we are running the same application using sessions, not cookies. So earlier when we ran this application using cookies, so we were able to see cookies.
But
So this time we were using sessions, right? So there are no cookies, but we could see JSession ID. So I already explained you that whenever I send a request from this client, what happened? This application server will create a session, and that session will have one unique ID. The same information is being sent to CL1, client 1. So that's why we are able to see J session ID. Okay. Any
But on the
questions or any confusion?
Yeah, but on the left-hand side, why we are able to see the code? I mean, the form.
What? This code, right? Form 1.
Yeah.
You're talking about this one.
Yeah.
So see. So we open this application in developer mode. So in debug mode. So whatever sent to this client from this servlet 1, the same thing is being displayed in the browser.
Okay.
Because we open this application in developer mode, in debug mode.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe some code issue. Yeah, in previous web browsers, we opened that application in debug developer mode, right? That's why it is displaying all this information here.
Okay.
Maybe you need to restart this browser to close that one.
So we didn't print the
Yes.
name, gender,
We
and
did not.
age.
Right, exactly. We did not print that information here. That's why we are unable to see. Yeah, for example, I just want to though other parameters I'm not displaying. Okay, I will add that code to display that information. See. So this time we set this information the server side. Okay.
Okay.
And similar to cookies and hidden fields, again, this session also has some drawbacks. So basically, session is a heavy object. Okay, session is a heavy object. It is not recommended to store huge amount of data on the server at the server side using session, because it is a heavy object. When we use heavy objects in application, automatically the performance would be degraded, right?
Okay.
Okay. So when comparing with hidden fields and cookies, we are able to overcome those issues. So data transmission, we are able to overcome, and the security issue, we are able to overcome. And the cookie related reliability side, we are able to overcome, right? So all these issues, we are able to overcome using sessions. So are we exposing this data anywhere?
No.
No, nowhere we are exposing this data. And are we transmitting this data from client to server and server to client? No. So where we are setting this information? In session, we are storing this information. But the drawback is session is heavy object.
So suppose
Heavyweight
if I
object.
wanted to log in into another application, then it takes the value from the session.
Log into means, are you talking about that previous example, SSO example?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, exactly. So whenever this application client one sent login information, SSO server, it will authenticate that user against database or any custom application. After authentication, it will create one unique ID and it will maintain one session. Basically, the session will have 20 minutes default time. After 20 minutes, the session would be expired. Automatically, it would be expired. Okay. So this server will identify that client based on that server session information.
Okay. So even now, if you want to take a live example, like our banking application and all, it stores our credentials in the session. Because suppose if you are not doing any activity in that screen for some minutes or so, so it will get, the session will get expired, and then again we have to do a relogin.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
So any questions up to this one? Up to sessions?
No, Satya.
Yeah. So what are the drawbacks in sessions?
So we cannot store heavy information in that because of the performance.
Right. And another drawback? Just now we are talking about the session timeout, right?
Okay, yeah, session timeout.
Session timeout. So if you want to store this information for a long time, you cannot store because this session has some default time. After that session time, after that time, automatically the session would expire. If you store the client one information in the session, and after 20 minutes, if you want to use the same data, will you get that information?
No.
No, because the session is already expired. After 20 minutes, this session would be terminated automatically.
Yeah.
So that is the another disadvantage of using sessions.
Okay.
But in most of the applications, to maintain, I mean, to make this web application as a reliable or stateful application, in most of the cases, application uses sessions only.
Okay.
Most of the application uses sessions only. So if it is a basic information like text, so no harm in that.
Okay.
So the problem arises when you store huge data. When you store a big object, in that case, the performance issues may occur. If you store simple data like username, user password, or user form data, so that if it is a text, obviously it will be lightweight object only, right? So in that case, we can use session.
Okay.
But imagine the case if you want to store one big image, the big image which has around 2 GB of size. In that case, it is recommended to use session?
No.
No, because from client side, we are uploading one big document, big file. It is around 2 GB of data. And by default, session is a API object. If we load this object, I mean image in session, obviously the performance of the application would degrade it.
Okay. So it will be slow in accessing the
Yes.
application.
Yes, exactly.
So in that case, we need to use either of the three, like either of the two, cookies or the hidden.
Yes. Actually, to store the big applications, we can use some other mechanisms like file transmission, something like that.
Okay.
But for you, for your understanding, I'm telling that.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
When we store big application, nowadays we have to some other protocols like secure file transmission protocol or file transmission protocol, something like that we have, right? So using those protocol, we can transmit the data.
Okay. So with the session and the cookies, I understood that we can use like this multiple application example, what you told, but about the hidden, in that we will not be able to use the multiple applications with the same
No.
credential.
So 90% of the application won't use hidden fields.
Okay. Okay, got it.
So when coming to the enterprises, so most of the applications uses either cookies or sessions.
Okay.
Okay. Cookie, if it is not a critical data, and if there is no harm in losing that cookie, in that case, we can use cookies.
Okay. So what kind of interview questions can be asked in these servlets?
Interview questions, yeah, mainly about these cookies, sessions.
Okay. Difference between them.
Difference between them.
Okay.
And life cycle, servlet life cycles.
Okay.
And
so
some questions related to MVC.
So life cycle will be like client server.
No, yesterday we were discussing about that initialize, service, and destroy, right?
Yeah. Sorry. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, those are the life cycle methods.
Okay.
And
Initialization, service, and then destroy.
yes, finally destroy. Init, service, and destroy.
Okay.
And yeah, in servlet we have another concept like a request dispatcher. I'll explain that. Before going, so any questions on what are the concepts we discussed so far?
No, Satya.
Okay, open that PPT.
Also, I was asking about the Eclipse.
Yeah, Eclipse version.
Your voice is breaking. Your voice is breaking, Satya.
Now, about now.
Still it is like that.
Yeah, sorry, I got disconnected. Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, yes, Satya. Now it is clear.
Okay, okay. So the version I'm using is Neon, Eclipse
Okay.
Neon version. You can download it from Eclipse portal. Is it okay?
Yeah, yes, yeah. Enterprise version.
Yes, enterprise version. So we were discussing about cookies, sessions, and attributes. We discussed all these concepts, right? And some other concepts like servlet context and servlet config. So I'll explain you that.
Okay.
Okay. So what is web application? What is web server? Web application is an application which runs on a web server, right? Web application is nothing but a Java application which is running on a web server. Okay. Now, what is web server? Are you able to hear me? Is my voice breaking again?
Hi, Satya. Yeah, sorry, I'm able to hear you.
Okay. So web server is an application which provides runtime environment to our web application. Okay. So web
Okay.
application is nothing but a Java application which is running on a web server. Okay. Web application is nothing but an application or a Java application which is running on a web server. Now, what is web server? So web server is nothing but an application which provides runtime environment to our web application. Okay. So when we run this application, for this application, this web server will provide some runtime environment. Okay. As part of this runtime environment, for this application, that web server will create one context object, and for each servlet, it will create multiple config objects. Let's say in this application, in this web application, if we have two servlets, so in our example, we have two servlets, right? So SRV1 and SRV2. See, so in this application, in our web application, so we created two servlet. That means this web server will create two config objects specific to this web application. Okay, for SRV1, there would be one servlet config. For SRV2, there would be another config object. So the scope of this config object, it would be specific to SRV1. Similarly, the servlet config, this object is specific to only SRV2. But along with config object, this web application, web server will create another object, that is servlet context object. Okay, for entire web application, we do have one context object, but we can have multiple config objects, servlet config objects. These config objects are specific to a particular servlet, but context object is available for entire web application. We can read this context object in SRV1, or we can read this context object in SRV2. But this config object, SRV1 config object, that can be used in only servlet SRV1. Similarly, this config object can be used in SRV2. Clear?
Okay.
Okay. For this entire application, we do have only one context object.
So the config is specific to the particular server.
Yes, for this particular web application, not server.
Servlet. Not sorry, I told the word servlet.
Yeah. Suppose in this web server, if we run multiple web server, for each web application, it will create one context object. But in this case, for this web application, this context is available for this entire web application. In this case, what is our application? Demo servlet. Demo servlet is our application. That means this web application create one context object for this demo servlet project. And suppose if I create another object, another application like demo JSP. For demo JSP, this web application create another context object. But I can't access JSP, demo JSP context object in this demo servlet application.
Okay.
But I can access this context object, demo servlet context object, within this demo servlet project. And
Okay.
for SRV1, it is create one. It will create one config object, and I can access that object. I can access that object within this SRV1 only. Similarly, for SRV2, this web server create another config object, and I can access this config object within this SRV2 only. Okay. Now we were talking about context object and config object. So what is the purpose of these objects? Suppose in my web application, I want to use one resource file. Okay, one resource file, just like JDBC configurations. Okay, the same JDBC configuration I may use in SRV1 or I may use in SRV2. Depending on my requirement, I can use the database anywhere in my web application, either in SRV1 or SRV2. Okay, in this case, if I want to read this resource file, where should I configure this resource file? You got my question?
Sorry, can you repeat?
See, in my web application, I want to use database, some
Okay.
Oracle database.
Okay.
Okay, so I want to configure the database related information in one resource file. Basically, we use properties file, right?
Okay.
Basically, we use a properties file to configure database related information, right? Now, I may use this configuration, database configuration, anywhere in my application. I may use in SRV1, I may use in SRV2.
Okay.
Right? So I want to configure, I want to pass this information to my web application. So as it is a global information, I may use anywhere. I may use anywhere in my web application. So in that case, to which object I need to pass this information? Obviously, it would be context object, because the scope of context object is in entire application, entire web application.
Okay. Okay.
So if I configure this JDBC information in context object, so I can use this information anywhere.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. Similarly, I have one small image. Mainly, so let's say if we implemented this servlet specific to one business, for example, it is home loan application, and I'm maintaining auto loan also. So I implemented home loan related business logic in SRV1. I want to use home loan related configurations in SRV2 and SRV1. Similarly, I have added business logic related to auto loan in SRV2, and I want to access auto loan information only in SRV2.
Okay.
I don't want this information in SRV1, because for SRV1, auto loan related information is not required. It required only home loan related information. But
Okay.
it's SRV2 dealing with auto loan, but it required auto loan related information.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. In this case, so where I can configure auto loan related resources in SRV2 config.
Okay.
For SRV1, it deals with only home loan. It won't care about auto loan. It won't perform any transactions, or it won't perform anything, any action on auto loan. It need only home loan related. So for this SRV1 config object, I can pass home loan related information. So then the scope of this home loan is limited to SRV1. Similarly, the scope of this auto loan is limited to only SRV2.
Okay.
So by using these configurations, we can make our application more secure. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Because the scope of auto loan is only limited to SRV2. Home loan is limited to only SRV1. We can't access home loan in SRV2 because this information is not available SRV2 config.
Okay.
Similarly, auto loan related information can't be accessed by SRV1 because these configurations are not available in SRV1 config.
Okay. So this home loan and auto loan is like a form 1, form 2, something like that?
Form 1 and form 2, yes, we can say like that.
Okay.
So in real time, basically we implement web application for multiple requirements, right?
Yes.
Multiple requirements. So let's say, let's consider this banking application. So the same banking application we can use for transactions, to transfer amount from one account to another account, or we can use the same bank application to pay the credit card bills, and we can use the same application to apply a loan. Maybe we can track the loan information using that application. Basically, those are completely different applications integrated to a single web portal.
Yes.
So when you access loan application, our application should communicate with the loan server. From there, it should pull that information.
Okay.
And when you try to get credit card related information, anyhow, credit card database is completely different.
So, but it
And
will
it has
use the same credential data will be the same for all the individual server.
Right, because the customer ID would be same.
Okay. So that part where it will get stored, Satya? The session?
Session. So earlier I'm telling about SSO server, right?
Yeah.
So from SSO server only the request would be redirected. So in that case, the session would be stored in SSO server.
Okay. So this web application will again send the data to SSO server.
Right.
Okay.
So is it clear? Are there any questions?
No.
So I'm not going to explain examples. So from this, I'll give overview. Is that fine? Because we have very less time.
Okay, sure.
And in next session, we'll talk about the JSPs and we'll discuss about MVC, how we use JSPs and servlets together. I'll explain that in next session.
MVC is really, we want MVC. Important.
Yes. Yeah, that is important. I'll explain in JSP session.
Okay.
In MVC is nothing but is a combination of multiple technologies. Servlets and JSPs is a combination of both.
Okay, okay.
See, if you observe this application,
Okay.
here in the code, something written like this: servlet context CON equals to get servlet context. Here
Okay.
we are not creating any object. We are not creating any servlet context. What we are doing, we are simply getting servlet context.
Okay.
Can you answer me why we are directly getting servlet context?
Maybe automatically the object is created.
Right. This web server, whenever we initialize this web application in this web server, the responsibility of web server is providing runtime environment to this web application. While providing this runtime environment, it will create a context object specific to this web application.
So the web server
Okay.
is the one who is creating the context object?
Exactly. Exactly. The web server is the one who creates this context object. So when we bring up this application, web server, it will automatically create this context object. That's why we are directly calling get servlet context.
Okay.
Okay. And if we configure any parameters, if we configure anything in servlet context by using get init parameter, we can read that value. How to configure in web.xml, I'll show you. So this is how we can get servlet context. Okay.
College is a value.
Yes, is a parameter value. See, this is web.xml. So this is how we can configure context parameter, servlet context parameter. context param, this is the tag name, param name, and param value. Okay.
Okay. Which means this this value is getting stored in the context object.
Okay. Okay. I'll try to explain in a code. That would be more useful to you.
Okay.
We'll spend
Okay.
some time here. Okay. See, so here we have web application. So I want to use some database related configurations. So JDBC config, I'm giving the name.
Okay.
And here I would like to pass some JDBC related string. Maybe driver. For to establish connection with the database, basically what we need connection string, and we need a type of database and related connection string, right? So I don't want to add all this information. I'm just adding Oracle database. Okay, we are not writing any code related to database. That's why I'm just adding one value, Oracle database.
Okay.
Okay, and I have created this parameter under web app. Okay, web app is a root tag for web.xml. I'm adding this value under web app. So by using context param. So if I define anything like this, this information would be added to servlet context object. Okay.
Okay.
If we add anything, something like this information would be added to servlet context object. And I can use this information anywhere in my web application. I can use this information in servlet 1, or I can use this information in servlet 2. Okay, so in case if I want to read this information in servlet 1, SRV1, what should I do?
Get param.
First, I need to get servlet context.
Context.
So now I have servlet config object. So from this object, I want to read the database information. What is the name of my parameter there?
JDBC. I mean, the Oracle is the value.
Config, JDBC config.
Okay.
String database info. And instead of writing JDBC related code here, I'm just adding a statement. Write Oracle database code here to use Oracle database. So which database being used, I'm not sure. So I want to read that information from config. Similarly, I need same database related information in SRV2. That's why I'm adding this piece of code in SRV2 also.
Why we need in both the servlet, Satya?
Sorry.
Why we need to do in both the servlet?
So here, this is example. That's why we are not writing any code to establish connection with database. So ideally, in first SRV1, I want to verify whether that user is available in database or not.
Okay.
And in SRV2, I want to store that user information in database.
Okay.
So imagine that scenario.
Okay.
So in that case, I need database connection both servers, right?
Okay. So this particular context object can be used in any servlet.
Both servlet. My intention is to show that we can use this context object in entire web application.
Okay, got it.
So I transmitted this information to SRV1. See, Oracle database. From where it is picking this one? Did I write Oracle in my code?
No, it is taking from the web.xml.
Yes, it is picking from web.xml.
Okay.
Similarly, I am passing this form to SRV2. See, again, it is printing the same. That means the same context variable is available for SRV1 and SRV2.
So basically, the context is the web.xml.
Web.xml is not context. This is a deployment descriptor.
Okay.
Web.xml is a deployment descriptor. This descriptor defines entire web application.
Okay.
So which servlets configured in this web application, and what are the URL patterns configured in this web application, and what are the context variables defined in this web application, and if there are any config objects, whatever defined in this web application. So it defines entire web application. What are the configurations used here? It will define that information. And based on this web application, the server will identify which servlet context object it has to create, which servlet config object it has to create, and which servlet it has to execute. So based on this information, web server will identify.
Okay.
So if you define this web application with invalid configurations, web application will fail to create. I mean, it will fail to provide runtime environment to your application.
Okay.
It may not run your web application if you configure anything wrong in web.xml.
Okay. So how many
Okay.
of our servlets are there? We need to we have to have those information here, and how many of our context parameter we can have here.
You can have multiple context objects or multiple config objects, but when you run this application in web server, there will not be any time limit. But for client session, client interaction, there would be definitely a time limit. But to run this web application web server, there is no time limit. You can keep this application up and running 24/7.
Okay.
But for client to server interaction, definitely there is a time limit.
Okay.
See, actually, I'm running this web application in Tomcat, which is available on Eclipse.
Okay.
But I'm trying to access this application from browser. So here both are completely different applications.
Okay.
So for the communication between this browser and this Tomcat server, for that there is a time limit.
Okay.
But to run this Tomcat server on your application, there is no time limit.
Okay.
You can make this application up 24/7. Similarly, if you are accessing your bank portal, hdfcbank.com or icicibank.com, anytime you can access it, right?
Yes.
So basically those applications are running on web server, some web server.
Okay.
So any questions on this context, servlet context?
No.
Okay. See, similarly, same as servlet context, you can get servlet config with this statement: servlet config config equals to get servlet config. Okay, and to read the parameters, you can use same get init parameter config dot. Earlier we called get init parameter on context object. So this time we are calling init parameter on config object.
Okay.
Okay, and there is a difference in configuring context objects and config objects. So in this case, init parameter and init parameter name, init parameter value. Where we define this value? See, under servlet.
Oh, okay.
Previous case.
Yes, the context will be outside the servlet so that it is common. I mean, it is.
Yeah, it is available for all servlets.
Okay, so for each servlet, there will be a config information.
Yes. Within the servlet, you need to add config information. So here I have servlet SRV1 related configuration, and here I should add servlet config information. Okay, and this tag is specific to SRV1, and I can access this information within SRV1 only.
Okay, okay.
I can't access this information outside SRV1.
Okay.
So similarly, I have SRV2, and if I want to pass any information to SRV2, where I should add this one?
Inside the SRV servlet 2.
Right. So earlier we were discussing about this one, right? So for example, this is home loan,
Yes.
home loan related config.
Okay.
So SRV2 deals with auto loan. So auto loan related config. See, so with this, I can access auto loan related configurations with within SRV.
One.
Sorry, I have added under servlet mapping. Now try this example on your own. If you have any questions, let me know in next session. Okay.
Okay.
Try to access auto loan related information in SRV1 and try to access SRV1 related config in SRV2. Give a try and see if you are able to get that objects or not.
Okay.
So from servlet side, only one topic is pending. That is servlet dispatcher. So I will explain servlet dispatcher while talking about MVC.
Okay.
Okay. So any questions?
No, Satya, very clear.
Thank you. So we have 7 more minutes. So if you have any doubts, let me know. I'll try to explain.
No, I understood all the concept which you have explained very clearly, because you have shown it with an example. So really very interesting.
Okay. So yesterday I thought of creating these examples, but if I implement some code and I try to explain here, it won't make much impression, right? So
Yeah, if we have the whole code and if we are trying to explain, we would have not been able to follow. But now it is
yes.
like, since you wrote in front of us, it is really, I mean, I'm able to follow like what you're writing and where you're writing, like that.
Okay. Okay, if we are good, we close the call for today, and maybe Nandini, she may help us with another session on JSPs.
Okay, sure. It will be good if we concentrate more on the MVC.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. First, I'll explain MVC, then we'll go to JSPs.
Sure. Is it like dependent JSP? After knowing the JSP only, we need to know like MVC?
Sorry, your not the voice was breaking. What was your question?
Is it like dependent only after knowing the JSP we will get to know like MVC?
No, nothing like that. Nothing like that. But you says you should to understand MVC. There is no dependency. Definitely, there is no dependency, but you will get some idea if you know JSPs, how we use those applications in real time.
Okay, sure.
All right, thanks, Satya. Thanks. I'll talk to the core team and see if we can set up another session. All right.
Okay,
Thanks.
sure.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you, Nandini. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.